It was our parents' generation that waited for the gold watch, and our generation that started interviewing companies. The average lifespan for an inside sales rep is 2 years.
Hello Sales Nation and welcome to the Salesman Podcast Live in partnership with HubSpot and recorded live in person at the Leadership Summit in amazing Chicago. On this episode we have Lauren Bailey. She is a sales expert. On this show she's sharing with us where we should spend our time, where we should be focusing on if we want to improve our game and have the biggest leverage points to improve our ability to close more deals. You can find out more about Lauren over at Factor8.com, which is the factor, the number 8.com. We link to that and everything else in the show notes to this episode over at salesmanpodcast.com. And with all that said, let's jump into today's show. Lauren, welcome to the Salesman Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Will.
I'm glad to have you on. We're going to dive into a topic today, which, thinking about it as I say it, is perhaps the biggest point of leverage in all of our success in sales, and this is uncovering what is important and what's moving the needle,
right?
And spending more time doing that
versus just listening to the noise or getting caught in the noise, right?
And pushing out just noise that no one's paying attention to.
Yeah.
So I guess the first place to start of all of this is there a way to, I don't know whether this is data, I don't know if this is conversations with management or how to go about it, or is there a way to uncover what are the activities that we do each day that do move the needle? That do move the needle.
So we can look at this at a macro level and a micro level, right? So when I first started talking about this subject, I started at macro level because there's all this noise about the different trends, right? And to be honest, it pisses me off. It pulls our focus as salespeople and as sales leaders. Oh my God, I need to be doing account-based marketing. Oh my God, and I know I've got to put all my energy into social. But we need to be smart about what applies to us and our channel and our industry and our sort of evolution in the buyer's journey, the product life cycle, the sales center life cycle. Okay, that's way too much macro talk.
So let's just focus on this for a second, because you've covered a lot of ground there.
Right? And we're done.
How? Oh, no, not at all. There's 4 hours more conversation to dive into it.
All right, I'm ready.
Does it all come down to less what the sales industry is pushing, whether it be social selling, account-based selling?
Yes.
And do we need to focus on the buyer and their journey first, and then reverse engineer it all back?
Yes, absolutely. And we have to really have a critical look at our own company and where we are. So let's start with that for a second. Know where you are on the product life cycle, right? Are you at early adoption where you're selling a concept? Do people need to be educated about what you're doing? That changes where you focus, right? Or are you on this growth curve and the maturity and your goal is market share? I've got to grow and I've got to grow fast. It's going to change your approach. When you're tipping over the top and you're commoditized, oh boy, right? Yes, I'm going to have to sell on price. People aren't loyal, so I'm going to have to use some relationships. And I might even change my sales channel through all of those for the leaders out there. Right? I may need some face-to-face. I need some education early on, whereas folks move more to inside sales as the margins get more narrow, right? As we get commoditized, we have to pull the price out of that. So knowing where you are helps you know what your customers may or may not need. Now figuring out where your customers are in that customer journey. Have they done their research? Are they looking? Are you displacing a competitor? Or are you selling brand new into this? What do they know about your product, not your company's product, right? But your category, if you will, and what's missing, what's going to help put them over that tipping point.
Why? So I'm going to ask you this. It's going to seemingly be a silly question, but I think there's a lot of depth to it.
Let's hope I don't screw it up.
No. What you just described, no other sales expert come on the show has put it in that perspective.
Seriously?
Of going from...
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm done. I'm out.
Well, no, there's another 50 follow-up questions now that you've done
right?
that.
Or I've got it completely up and wrong.
No, you're right. I think you just talked about it from so one of the things I try and do on the show is to widen the business acronym of the salespeople, because then they can have better conversations, whether they're dealing with a CFO, whether they're dealing with the decision maker, middle management, whoever it is.
You nailed it, Will.
They've got the ability to do that.
Yeah.
So this is a constant focus for me.
Good.
On the podcast. And you just put this in the macro, and then we can come on to the micro as well. But on the macro side of things, no one has ever come on the show and said, where is your product in the life cycle and the I don't know how you describe the life cycle of that industry and that specific.
Right. It's sort of the product curve,
Yeah.
the growth curve, right? And if you cross the chasm and all of that stuff, and that it's your first clue to what your customers are looking for. Then you look into their vertical.
Because
I'm sorry.
I don't.
I'm building. We should need to stop. Okay.
As a B2B salesperson listening, what are the indications of each point of this process so that they can, without being told by their management,
Sure,
they can suss it out for themselves?
Okay. So one of the first things I'd look at is how long has my category, not just my specific product, been on the market, right? Is this a brand new concept or is this something been around a while? SaaS, relatively new, right? Paper, been around a while. Just to give you two examples of two clients I have, right? So that's number one. You'll know that you sort of crossed the chasm, if you will, and when you see more competitors in your market. So early on, there aren't many competitors. It's relatively new. You find that you have to explain the concept to people. You have to educate them on what it is and why you would need it, right? Once you're starting to come up that growth curve, there's a few other competitors, a couple of people have heard of it before. Your sales cycle tends to go a little shorter. You found that you've had to drop prices a couple times because of that competition. But now there's a need for it, right? Now it's about grabbing market share from those competitors, and it's speed to market. And you probably find that you're being driven by those goals.
Yeah.
As you're coming to that maturity, more and more often you're displacing a competitor. It's not the first time they've had this product. Now you want them to have your product or from you, right? Maybe sometimes it's the same damn widget. You just need to buy it from Will, right? Instead of from someone else. And commoditized, people have it. It's everywhere. They can probably get it on the internet and self-serve. People are very well educated, right? At that point, you're just talking about differentiators. But if you go into an early life cycle talking about this is why we're different than our competitor, people are still looking at you like, I don't understand what the hell you're selling. So
where does inside sales fit into this?
Inside sales, typically, thanks for saying that, because it's not one size fits all. But typically in that product journey, inside sales is coming in the maturity mode, right? People are afraid of trying to sell a concept over the phone. But I've got some funny stories about that. You can do it, right? But not everybody's ready. Once you're getting to mature, and especially as you're getting over to the commoditized end of life, this is where people are looking for it to be a cash cow, right? I need to drive the cost out of sales. I don't need a super expensive 20-year vet teaching people how to use this product. It's a pen. We've got it, right? I need to have a cheaper channel, but also what customers are demanding. If I had to have somebody come to my office and talk to me to an hour to get a pen, I'd be pretty pissed. I want speed right now. I want price right now. I want it to be on demand. So our customers are demanding faster answers, less meetings, cheaper products. That's where inside sales fits in, 80% of the time.
Because it was interesting as you were going through this. So my background's medical device sales. So it's
very face-to-face industry.
Yep,
right?
and super established.
Yeah.
And there's only ever two competitors in my space. And so I was always trying to steal their business whilst protecting my own business.
Right.
Which kind of turns that on its head slightly of, I'm face-to-face, but I'm not selling concepts.
No.
You know, an endoscope goes in a patient, they see the other end of it.
Yes.
And I've never thought about it like this in this process
and that's interesting,
before.
huh? So it sounds like you're here, right? You're not commoditized. These are expensive pieces of equipment, but different industries are different places, right? So medical is just getting into inside sales. We've got a couple clients in that space, and it's a culture change. They have been face-to-face forever. I was talking with a gentleman yesterday here at the AAISP Leadership Summit Conference, and he sells billboard advertising. Now, we all know what this is, right? We're not teaching people what a billboard is, but they have just started their first inside sales team.
Do those people who are used to face-to-face, which is me, do they transition to inside sales?
No.
Is it a different person
It
that
is a
has success
whole
there?
different animal. It's a really different animal, and I'm about to alienate half your audience. Are you ready? It is easier for an inside seller to move outside than an outside seller to move inside. Almost 100% of the time. It's difficult for outside to come inside. Because
what's different in the personality types?
Well, let me just do the analogy really quick. If you're used to being able to sell face to face, right? And then you move on the inside, It's like doing it with your hands tied behind your back, or it'd be more like your lips stapled shut, because you're missing half of the cues that you're used to, and it's tough to get a hold of people, and there's this rigor that goes with it that people think is just insane. It's a really tough sport, right? But the people who have that rigor, they get to go face to face. They're like, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. I can actually see you. Do you want to talk to me? Oh, that's the equipment. It looks broken. You want a new one? You know? So it's different. So what are the personality differences? That's a great question. I've never been asked that one before. You're very good at this.
I try.
I would say that an inside seller is a faster pace. I'm used to faster results. I don't want to say that outside isn't as highly competitive, but most typically, and maybe this is the product of the industry more than the personalities, but these folks are used to a little more strategic sale, a little longer sales cycle. It's more important that they've got the professional polish, whereas on inside, as a general rule, it's, hey, come on in right out of college, and you know, we're going to get you moving in this direction, and we're a little more informal, if you will. Other personality traits, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that. I've been so focused on phone sales for the last 20 years that I don't know the difference. I can tell you how to hire great phone salespeople, but I should not be asked that for field sales.
The reason I ask is, so I'm conscious that clearly sales, including inside sales from if you look at the telemarketer end of it, which is not what we're talking about here.
Right.
And you've got the used car sales side of things, which is not
also not what we're talking about.
Not the field side of sales that we're talking about
here. That's so true, but those are the same, aren't they? So telemarketing that call you at home while you're eating supper, or, you know, during tea time, as I would say, are the same as the used car salesman on your side in field sales. That's a great analogy.
They bring things down. They take away some of this, the professionalism that we talk about and that we know leads to success.
They're the cringe of our industry, sure.
And something that I'm conscious about the podcast, and now that the audience is getting substantial, we can have some kind of an impact with all of this, is that I talk about having sales as a career. So whether that's 5, 10 years, whatever it is. And what you're bringing up here is really interesting to me, in that over a 10-year period with a specific product within a specific industry, you could be on this roller coaster of starting off in field sales, concept selling, and at the end of that 10-year period being moved towards inside sales.
You could do, yes. If you
and I've never thought about that before.
If you stayed with that product and industry, right? But how often does that happen?
But why?
It's tough.
Why doesn't that happen more often?
People are jumping companies, right? And that's been happening for 20 years. It was our parents' generation that waited for the gold watch, and our generation that started interviewing companies. The average lifespan for an inside sales rep is 2 years. Yeah.
And is that a good thing or a bad thing, or neutral? Is that just the market?
No, I think it's a shame, frankly. I think it's a shame. And a lot of that's on us as leaders in that industry, because we are getting smart, passionate, hardworking individuals. And the number one reason and cause for attrition is a lack of development, right? These people want to come in and learn. And unfortunately, it's more of a Shark Tank. So we throw, right, all these passionate kids at sales, and it's sink or swim. And the ones that swim very often are graduating out to the field. So a lot of organizations will have the layers. So this is the starting position, and you're going to be taking inbound calls, and then you're going to graduate to, this level of phone sales and this level of phone sales, and then you're going to partner and team, and then you're going to graduate out to the field where you get, a company car and a cushy expense account and all that, all the good perks.
I've been there. That's my world of medical devices, of a BMW and all that good stuff.
Fantastic stuff. No, the kids in inside sales, we're riding bikes to work.
But what I want to drill down to, Lauren, is that what we should be encouraging? Because I can't remember the name of it, but there's a phenomenon in just business in general that people get to the point where they get promoted to the point where they're slightly out of the depth and uncomfortable.
The Peter Principle.
Is that what it's called? Where they would perform better, have more success at that level slightly below.
Yes.
And I see this
I love that.
with the SDRs that email me that we want to become account managers. Whether that's more quota carrying, whether there's commission there, fair enough. And then I see account managers saying, you talk about the BMWs, you talk about the company cars and field sales, so I want to get into field sales.
Yeah.
And so there's a constant progression of, I've been told this is better,
grass is greener.
Yeah, when not necessarily, and the fact that might be that you're more suited, as we described the personality types, for one or the other.
Right.
So again, should leadership be encouraging this roller coaster of consistent, considering we've just talked about a lack of development,
right?
Should we be pushing for everyone to move forward
to
and
promote?
The next thing?
And there's one other layer to that, if you don't mind me adding it, which is now I want to get into management.
Yep.
And that's where we quickly have made a lot of mistakes, frankly, because your very best sellers, right? Those of you listening who are killer and in your top 10% consistently and going on the president's clubs, don't get into management.
I've done 2 shows on that recently.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You're going to hate it. You're going to get paid less. And frankly, here's the flip side of that. Most of the people who are really great at sales, to them it's an art, not a science. They can't teach it. They can't coach it. And it will drive you crazy not to rip the phone out of your rep's hands, right? Or go on the call yourself. Anyway, so you've covered that. I won't go there. So are we doing the right things by helping these people promote? The sad truth of it is we don't have a choice, okay? People want to promote. They want to grow and get ahead, and millennials more than anyone. There's something new in our industry that's about micro promotions. So
what's that?
The idea is I need to be able to move up from a rep level 1 to a 2 to a 3, and I need to be able to do it more quickly. Millennials want this instantaneously.
Is this almost like gamifying the role?
It is gamifying the role, and it's because our people, our users, our salespeople have asked for it. They demand the opportunity to move up. It's a really neat company in Phoenix, ZipRecruiter, and they do promotion credits, which I find really fascinating. So when you're hitting goals or achieving something, you earn a promotion credit, and it takes so many credits to move up. So people are always in charge of their own destiny. Here's what's great about, I think, the micro promotions. You want to move up, but you're an incredible seller. Okay. If there's a way for you to move up and stay in what you're doing without having to move to field where you might not be suited or to management where you might not be suited, everyone wins. That Peter principle is there because we're all driven to achieve more and get the better paycheck or whatever that is, the BMW, right? And we should have a chance to earn that. So smart companies aren't capping commissions, and they're letting people promote and excel in their current job role. There's a better title, there's a better paycheck, there's a better carrot that goes with it, and it lets me satisfy the achievement.
So for any of the individual, we'll wrap up with this, any individual B2B salespeople that are listening now, SDRs, AEs, whoever it is, how do they uncover these companies, and what questions, even in an interview perhaps, should they be asking to interview the company and suss out whether this is going to be a fit for them? Because what you're describing here, that would drive me, and it seems so simple.
It's cool, right?
And I'm on the back of this with the podcast downloads.
Yeah.
Every time I get another 100,000 downloads a month, I go out for a meal, celebrate, and that really drives me. And
you put in your own incentive program. It does. It means a lot, though. 100,000. That's fantastic. Okay, so you just ask about career paths, right? What's the average time to promotion? How many levels are available? What is the development that is available there? And frankly, I would talk to the people there as well. How long have you been in this role? What percentage get promoted? What's your attrition rate here? What kind of development are you giving your managers? I love that question. A lot of folks, when they get to finally figuring out that they've got to develop people, they start with the reps, right? But people join companies and quit bosses and work, right? I mean, when you don't like your boss, work sucks. Me too. That's why I started my own company, right? I had to, get me out. So thank you very much, Paul Skinnell.
So that's funny.
Boom.
So I had the last manager I worked with, and I've talked about this on the show before, he just had a kid, he just had a huge house extension, and he was living with his parents-in-law as this was going on. He got promoted to being a manager, and he was a great salesperson, and he hadn't learned the management skills yet. I'm a pain in the ass to manage because I want to go and do all this stuff.
Because you're an achiever.
And do kind of things my own way, rightly or wrongly.
Right.
And so there was obviously that friction there. But what was interesting, I've never mentioned him on the show, and I probably won't, but it made me giggle to myself then when you mentioned that fella's name.
But he helps kind of push you in that direction, right? So we've got to develop our managers, and I'm sure there's plenty of salespeople right now going, God bless, please, can I give you my boss's name? Could you please bring training to this guy?
Amazing stuff. Well, Lauren, I've got one final question to ask everyone that comes on the show.
Yeah, good. It's so funny too because here we were starting with this macro level, and then we just went and took off. I don't know if I ever answered your first question, so I'm sorry in advance.
I'm not
this has been a lot of fun.
sure on the questions that I've asked.
That's good.
I say this to everyone. This is just a conversation.
Yeah.
This is why I like doing these.
And this is why people like it.
Yeah. People like listening. So this kind of translates into what we're talking about here, though, of I saw the audience like this when I kind of macro on the podcast and everything that I'm doing, of they understand that if they're listening to this, they understand that there's a lack of sales content, which is like this, which is a conversation, which means there's a lack of sales people who get wrapped up in the industry every single day from listening to a podcast like this. You can only watch so many YouTube videos where it's pre-prepared question, answer before it drives you insane. And it's not something that you're going to listen to every morning on the way to work.
Right. Thank you for that canned advertisement.
Yeah. But if you listen to something like this, even if it's on in the background, and there's a bunch of actionable tips here of, how to interview someone to get a job that's going to kind of progress and develop you over time. So subtly all these are dropped in.
Good.
But because it's a conversation, they can listen to it. And it allows
and your voice is fabulous, by the way. Who couldn't listen to you?
I don't know about that.
Anyway, it allows people
it allows the audience to get wrapped up in the industry and become professionals.
Yeah.
Versus get to work, sell, come home, read a book once a year, not really implement it. And so that's everything that we're doing with the podcast. So thank you for the opportunity to kind of share that.
I love that.
I've got one question to ask everyone that comes on, and that is, if you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give her to help her become better at selling?
Couldn't have given me that question ahead of time, huh, Will? Let's see. Go in high. I think that when we discount, we do that because it's a lack of confidence. And I think that if we really wrap ourselves up in believing in what we're selling and we fall in love with it and we're passionate about it, people will pay a premium for the experience of working with a great rep. There is absolutely no reason to lead with a discount. I would go in with a 20% adder and then be able to discount down to list price, if you will.
I'm not sure of his name, but I'm sure he's the CEO of Redbull who said this. And it sums this up nicely because this is a conversation of discounting that comes up regularly on the show. And someone asked him, why is I don't know about how much it is in the States, but in the UK, a Red Bull, say £2 or £3.
Right.
And it's half the size of a Monster Energy or whatever. There might be
true.
£1. And so they asked him, why are we paying more for a drink that is essentially the same crap that's in it, that's half the size? And his response was, well, if it was the same price, how would you know that it's a premium product? And that sums it up to me.
Freaking brilliant.
And then it comes down to brand and everything else on the back of that.
Yeah. I've got a whole stack of Red Bulls here. And he does it very, very well. It's that brand. And as salespeople, the really great ones create a brand, which is what so much of the hype is about. The social media and the challenger sale and the account-based marketing and building your brand. But for the good ones that are subscribing and bettering themselves, they need to know they are a brand.
Well, look, Red Bull make more money now from Red Bull Media that do all the extreme sports coverage, skateboarding, mountain biking. They make more money from that than they do the canned drink. So they're buying into the brand, the content, and everything else as well in a big way. In a big way.
Oh my God, I was watching that just the other night. They had hill speed skating on Red Bull. I mean, it's just like they dream up whole new ways for guys to kill themselves. That's why we watch it.
Yeah. So I'm super into extreme sports, downhill mountain biking, and that side of things.
Oh, okay, I've got it. The Sales Podcast, sponsored by Red Bull.
That's the next step.
What would they do, right? How would they make your podcast extreme?
I know what they'd do. They'd come here with a big film crew and double up on all of this. It'd be fantastic.
They would, but you'd probably have to do it while taming a shark or whilst on fire or
whilst
something.
riding a lion. Yeah.
Yes, you could do it.
Amazing stuff. Well, along with that, tell us a little bit about Factor 8. Tell us a little bit about the keynote speaking and the speaking that you do as well.
Sure.
And where we can find out more about you.
Okay, so I'll start with that last one because that's the one I can remember. Factor 8 is www.factor8.com. We also have a YouTube channel with some really cool videos, and our whole goal is to just cut the BS and to give people supremely actionable tips. Yeah. We specialize in phone selling. We do nothing but inside sales. And we think it's tough, right? We know it's a confidence sport, so we're about helping build that confidence. We do consulting, we do benchmarking, but primarily we're known as a training company. We've been 100% referral and inbound business because we get these huge spikes. Why? Because we don't bullshit reps on theory, right? Yeah. Because we've all been in the job. Everyone on the team has done it for 15 years. We've made the calls, coached the teams, run the divisions, and we actually teach how do you get the decision maker on the phone and keep him on the phone. And then we go get on the phones and do it and coach it and help people see results. So it's not death by PowerPoint, let me, wax on about theories. It's a real practitioner and expert who comes in and coaches you on your messaging and delivery and helps you get that lift. So it's something obviously I'm really passionate about, because the feedback we get just touches me, right? When we get text years later from people talking about how we changed their careers, we changed their lives. If we can make work more fun, if we can make people more successful, then work doesn't suck.
Love it. Well, we'll link to that in the show notes to this episode over at salesmanpodcast.com. And with that, Lauren, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for being candid and going back and forth with this as a conversation.
Really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot too.
And I want to thank you for joining us on the Salesman Podcast.
Pleasure. Thanks, Will.